Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Here we are, Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month of the new year. So welcome to our online Heart Healthy Nutrition class. My name is Melissa. I'm HealthAware's registered dietitian and personal trainer. I'm so glad you're here with me this morning, whether you're watching the live version right now at 11 a.m. or the recorded version later on. Hopefully you'll learn something new that's helpful for today for your health. If you have any questions or any comments during this class, live or recorded, please let me know. You can type those into the little chat box at the bottom or the side of the video, however you're watching. Let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions, hear any feedback you have for me today. Other than that, let's get going with our topic today. As you may have seen in our little reminder post on our Facebook page, today's class, we are talking about 10 lifestyle changes to manage high blood pressure. That's not actually something we've talked about very much in this class so far on these online classes is blood pressure, but it's something that's been coming up more and more, it seems. Well, it's always been coming up a lot in our appointments at the HealthAware office. So blood pressure is what we're talking about today, lifestyle/nutrition changes. So, all right, let's do this. If you've been diagnosed with high blood pressure, you might be worried about taking medication to bring your numbers down. I know I would be. No one wants to be on medications. Lifestyle can play an important role in treating your high blood pressure, though, and it may help you delay or reduce the need for medication or avoid it completely. And that's always the goal, I think, as a practitioner. That's always my goal, is to get patients to as few medications as possible. Today, we're going to talk about 10 lifestyle changes that you can make right now to lower your blood pressure and to keep it down. First, before we get into the list of 10, let's talk quickly about blood pressure numbers and what they mean. So I have a chart. Hopefully you can see this. Oop, might be a little bit low. Okay, let me get my handy dandy. Oh, no, that's too high. Okay, well, I'll just hold it. Hold on. I've got a shorter box. There you go. My visual aids. Ha ha ha. Perfect. There we go. All right. So this blood pressure chart is from the American Heart Association. It lists the different blood pressure categories, as you can see here, and what the numbers are that go along with each, as you can see on this side. As you see, the systolic number, the top number, is the top number when writing down a blood pressure. And then the diastolic over here is the lower number when you're writing the blood pressure. Blood pressure is measured in millimeters of mercury, as you can see there. Millimeters of mercury, which we usually don't talk about very much. It's a measurement unit like inches or pounds. That's what blood pressure is measured in. So we usually want to aim for our blood pressures to be in that normal range, 120 over 80 millimeters per millimeters of mercury. So less than 120 at least at the most, and then 80 as the bottom number. So 120 over 80 is always, in general, always the goal. So high blood pressure, you can see hypertension. I hope I'm pointing to the right one. There you go. Hypertension, there you are. I am on the orange. Molly says that she's in the orange area. Yeah. So hypertension is, or high blood pressure is diagnosed when either, you'll notice here in this middle section, it says and then also it goes into or. So high blood pressure is diagnosed when either the systolic, that top number, is between 130 and 190, oh my goodness, I can't even talk today, is between 130 and 139, there we go, or the diastolic number, that bottom number, is between 80 and 89. Only one of those numbers has to be high, not both, to give a diagnosis of high blood pressure. You can actually see there's one in between, just called elevated in between normal and hypertension, kind of that 120 to 129 range, and having the bottom number less than 80 still though. So there's a couple of those ranges that are in the good, okay range before we get into hypertension. So obviously you see there are two more categories, the hypertension stage 2, and then I can't even read it, a hypertensive crisis, which is a problem. You don't walk around generally in a hypertensive crisis, right? So two other categories, and we actually see a fair number of patients in the healthcare office that are within actually the second category, high blood pressure, hypertension stage 2 and stage 1. We see a decent number in there. And of course the goal is to get out of those and be at least down to elevated blood pressure, but ideally into that normal range of blood pressure of 120/80 or below. Now, our blood pressures do vary from day to day, and with different activities we do. Because of this, typically your doctor will take your blood pressure on 2 or 3 different occasions, different days, perhaps different times of days, before officially diagnosing you with high blood pressure. Okay, so it's not, you come in white coat syndrome, your blood pressure's high, boom, you're diagnosed with high blood pressure. No, it takes a couple occurrences before you get that official diagnosis. Once they do diagnose that, however, then they often start discussing medication options, and that's where we come in. That's what our mission is today, get my stand out of the way. That's what our mission is today, is to, if at all possible, avoid the medications or reduce the medications. So we want to talk about the 10 different lifestyle changes you can start working on today in order to lower your blood pressure if you have high blood pressure, and keep it down and avoid that medication if possible. So number 1, we're going to talk through all 10 of these today. I may need some water to get me through these. All right, number 1. Lose excess weight and watch your waistline. Weight is related to so many health issues, high blood pressure being one of them. So blood pressure is often increased as weight increases. Being overweight can also cause disrupted breathing while you sleep. That's called sleep apnea sometimes, which can further raise your blood pressure. Weight loss is surprisingly one of the most effective lifestyle changes for controlling blood pressure. Losing even a small amount of weight, if you're overweight or obese, can help reduce your blood pressure. In general, you may reduce your blood pressure by about 1 millimeter of mercury, so that's that mmHg, by about 1 millimeter of mercury, 1 point, with each kilogram, so that's 2.2 pounds, of weight you lose. And anything helps when we're talking about blood pressure, right? Besides shedding pounds, you generally should also keep an eye on your waistline. Carrying too much weight in the midsection in the abdominal area can put you at a greater risk of high blood pressure. This is something we test in the healthcare office as well for our annual wellness screenings, and most people absolutely hate it. No one likes me taking that measuring tape around their belly button, but it is an important thing to be aware of. A large abdominal girth, is what it's called, can be very problematic, and can be something that can put you at risk for high blood pressure. So in general, men are at risk if their waist measurement is greater than 40 inches, and women are more at risk if the waist measurement is greater than 35 inches. Now, these numbers do actually vary slightly between ethnic groups. For example, the recommendation for those of Asian heritage is actually slightly lower for their optimal health. Molly just asked me, can bad gut health affect blood pressure? Ooh, that's a really good question. I don't know off the top of my head if there is a direct correlation. I would say that there could be perhaps some kind of like, it could be related kind of in a roundabout way perhaps. I don't know that I've ever necessarily heard of like gut issues directly causing high blood pressure, like that's the only cause. Generally, there's going to be something else going on besides just a gut issue, like IBS or something like that. The stress of having gut issues is probably, honestly, more likely to cause the high blood pressure than the actual gut issue itself. Now, don't quote me on any of that. I am not an expert on gut health versus blood pressure. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a 100% yes. I'd say it could be related. But again, probably some other issues going on too besides just the gut issues. Okay, hopefully that answered that question. All right. The second point now of lifestyle changes is to exercise regularly. I talk about this a lot, I'm pretty sure, on these classes, and just in general, exercise is something so important. So regular physical exercise, meaning 150 minutes a week minimum, or 30 minutes on 5 days a week is often what you'll hear minimum, can lower your blood pressure by about 5 to 8 millimeters of mercury if you have high blood pressure, which is actually pretty significant. It's important to be consistent though, because if you stop exercising, stop being consistent with it, your blood pressure can rise again. So that consistency of doing it 5 days a week or every day if you can is really important to this factor. If you have elevated blood pressure, that was the category, that elevated category of the 120 to 129 systolic. So just above normal, but just below hypertension. If you're in that category, exercise can help you avoid developing hypertension, getting into that worst category. If you already have hypertension, regular physical activity can bring your blood pressure down to safer levels. So some examples, aerobic exercise is really what can help a lot the most for our cardiovascular health. So some examples of aerobic exercise you might try to lower your blood pressure include walking, jogging, cycling, whether it's indoor or outdoor, swimming or dancing, aerobics. You can also try high-intensity interval training. If you're brand new to exercise, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that right away. High-intensity interval training involves alternating short bursts of intense activity with then subsequent recovery periods of lighter activity. Strength training also can help reduce blood pressure. Aim to include strength training at least 2 days a week. I usually tell people 2 to 3 days a week. It's good for you anyways. It is important to strength train. If you do have diagnosed hypertension and you don't currently exercise regularly, it is important to talk to your doctor first before starting any kind of exercise program, because sometimes if you're on medications can get thrown off if you just jump right into exercise, or your body might not be in the state for exercise. So make sure you talk with your doctor, get cleared. Usually they clear you. We like you exercising. So just a disclaimer though, make sure that you do get cleared if you currently do have high blood pressure. All right, next point is eat a healthy diet, which is easier said than done. Eating a diet that is rich in whole grains, fruits, vegetables, beans, and low-fat dairy products if you choose to eat dairy, and is also low in saturated fat and cholesterol, can help lower your blood pressure up to 11 millimeters of mercury if you have high blood pressure. 11 points is a lot. This eating plan, so the one that I just mentioned with those specific guidelines, is known as the Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension diet, also colloquially known as the DASH diet. Okay, you may have heard of that before, the DASH diet. It isn't easy to change your eating habits though, otherwise my job would be completely non-existent. But there are a few tips I have to get you started, at least for now. So keep a food diary. I recommend this often. Writing down what you eat, even just for a week, a short amount of time, can shed some surprising light on your true eating habits. Monitor what you eat, how much, when and why, if there's emotional issues, stress, boredom, that sort of thing going on. This can also help with weight loss, of course. And then another tip is to be a smart shopper. Read the food labels when you're shopping or at home, and stick to your healthy eating plan when you're dining out as well. These days, we're not really eating in restaurants, but a lot of takeout and fast food is the thing these days. So being mindful of that with whatever types of foods you're getting. Moving on, similar realm in the diet is reducing the sodium in your diet. This is our number 4 point of a change that you can make today. Reducing sodium. So even a small reduction in sodium actually can improve your heart health and reduce blood pressure by about 5 to 6 millimeters of mercury if you have high blood pressure. The effect of sodium intake on blood pressure varies among groups of people though. In general, we want you to limit your sodium to 2,300 milligrams or a day or less. Often you hear 2,000. That's typically what I quote to people, a day or less. However, for some people, an even lower sodium intake is actually more ideal to really manage blood pressure, and that would be 1,500 milligrams a day or less. I do teach an entire class about sodium in this Heart Healthy Nutrition class. I do have a whole topic on just sodium, but a few quick tips just for today to get you started on lowering your sodium intake is, again, read those food labels. That is a great source of information. If possible, choose low sodium alternatives of the foods and beverages that you normally buy. For example, canned beans. Buy the low sodium versions of those, not the regular. There can be a significant difference between those two items. I will totally admit that the salt-free beans don't taste they don't taste as good, but low sodium at least would be ideal, right? Eat fewer processed foods. Very little sodium occurs naturally in foods like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans. Naturally, they contain very, very low amounts of sodium. So most of the sodium that we get from foods is added during processing, like with bread, for example. Flour doesn't really have sodium in it, but when we make it into bread, that's when we get a lot of sodium. Flavoring your foods with something other than salt is another great idea. Just one level teaspoon of salt, plain table salt, has 2,300 milligrams of sodium. And that is really more than you should eat in the day. And then to reduce the amount of salt when you add it to recipes or when you're using a salt shaker at the table, and instead use herbs and spices to add flavoring to your food. Molly says just put garlic in the low salt or no salt beans. Oh, there's a great tip. Add your own flavoring into the no salt beans. I know that no salt beans sometimes are hard to find, but they're becoming more available these days. I do know that Sprouts brand, I think it's Sprouts brand, does have a no salt added canned bean. Beans are really good for you, so I recommend eating a lot of beans, just in general. Yeah, so adding your own flavorings like garlic would be great. And then one final point on this sodium part is to ease into it. If you don't feel you can drastically reduce the sodium in your diet suddenly, cut back gradually. It's okay. Anything is better than nothing. It may take a few weeks, but your taste buds actually will adjust over time. Going from a high salt diet to a low salt one instantly is very off-putting at first for a lot of people. Your food doesn't taste like anything, nothing tastes good, but doing it gradually and also giving yourself a little bit of time, like I said, a few weeks, your taste buds will adjust. That's the magic of them. They do adjust to this type of thing. And foods that used to be normal for you will actually become too salty for your palate, which is a little interesting. All right, the fifth change you can make today is to limit the amount of alcohol that you drink. Alcohol can be both good and bad, I suppose, according to the American Heart Association. It can be both good and bad. I am in the camp of the less alcohol, the better, just in general. So there are studies that do say by drinking alcohol in moderation, that's 1 drink a day for women, 2 drinks a day for men maximum, that you can potentially lower your blood pressure by about 4 millimeters of mercury. 1 drink is the equivalent of 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of an 80 proof liquor. But that protective effect, that benefit, is lost if you drink more than that. It's really that moderate level. That's one side of the coin. The other side is that actually it can raise blood pressure for some people, especially if you're drinking more than that moderate amount. It can raise your blood pressure by several points. It can also reduce the effectiveness of blood pressure medication sometimes, not to mention that alcohol adds excess calories, making it more difficult to manage your weight. And sometimes alcohol affects some people more strongly than others. I'm definitely in the less is better as when it comes to alcohol. My recommendation for patients. All right, point number 6 now. Quit smoking. This is one that I cannot stress enough. Each cigarette you smoke increases your blood pressure for many minutes after you finish. Stopping smoking helps your blood pressure return to normal. Quitting smoking can reduce your risk of heart disease and improve your overall health. Smoking is not good for your health, period. There is no wiggle room in that as far as I'm concerned. Smoking is not good for us. If you do currently smoke, I really strongly suggest that you consider quitting. It is only going to benefit your health. Okay, get off my soapbox on smoking. And that does include that cigars, cigarettes, vaping, all kind of have a negative effect on our health. Okay, number 7 is to cut back on caffeine. Not a lot of people like to hear this one. The role caffeine plays in blood pressure is still debated. Caffeine can raise blood pressure up to 10 millimeters of mercury in people who rarely consume it, which is pretty significant. But people who drink coffee regularly may experience a much smaller or even no effect on their blood pressure if it's that regular type of caffeine intake. Although the long-term effects of caffeine on blood pressure aren't totally clear, it's possible that blood pressure may slightly increase over time with caffeine. Oh, Molly said secondhand smoke sucks also. Yes, if you're smoking and people are around you or vice versa, secondhand smoke is not good for anybody either. Yeah, anyway, back to the caffeine. Again, it doesn't affect everybody in the same way. So to see if caffeine does raise your blood pressure, check your blood pressure within 30 minutes of drinking a caffeinated beverage. If your blood pressure increases by 5 to 10 millimeters of mercury, you may be sensitive to the effects of caffeine. In that case, it would be advisable to decrease or stop consuming caffeine altogether if you're able to do that. All right, I need more water again. Woo! All right, point number 8, that's it, yeah, 8 is to reduce your stress. Again, easier said than done, I totally get that. Chronic stress may contribute to high blood pressure. However, more research is needed in this area. Occasional stress, acute occasional stress, can also contribute to high blood pressure if you react to stress by eating unhealthy food, drinking alcohol, smoking. Kind of the stress pushes you into more of your bad habits. So take some time to think about what causes you to feel stressed, whether it's family, work, finances, illness, whatever it is. Once you know what's causing your stress, consider how you can eliminate or at least reduce that stress. Most of us can't eliminate all stressors, of course, but you can at least try coping with them in a healthier way. So some ways to manage stress is to change your expectations. For example, plan your day and focus on your priorities. Avoid trying to do too much, and learn to say no. Understand that there are some things you can't control, which is hard for me. But how you can focus on how to react to them rather than the stress of needing to change everything. Also, focus on issues you can control and plan to solve those issues. If you're having an issue at work, try talking to your manager or coworker. If you're having a conflict with your kids or your spouse, then take steps to resolve that. Also, try to avoid those stress triggers. Once you identify those things you know that stress you out, you find those triggers, do your best to avoid them. For example, if rush hour traffic on the way to work causes stress, try rearranging your schedule to leave earlier in the morning or take public transit. Avoid people who cause you stress if possible, which is thankfully easier to do these days with COVID since we're not around people very much. Also make time to relax, truly relax, and enjoy activities that you like doing. Take time each day to sit quietly and breathe. We have our meditation class online that is great for that. Even if you don't do the full hour, any of it is helpful. Make time for those enjoyable activities or hobbies in your schedule, taking a walk, cooking, volunteering, whatever it is that you find enjoyment in and that relax you. And then last in this is to practice gratitude, which I find very beneficial. Expressing gratitude to others, to the universe, to yourself, God, whatever it is, can help reduce your stress. All right, we've got 2 more to go. So number 9 in our list is to monitor your blood pressure at home and see your doctor regularly. So home monitoring can help you keep tabs on your blood pressure and make certain that your lifestyle changes are even working. And it can also help you know when to alert your doctor and alert you if you're having potential health issues going on. So blood pressure monitors are available pretty easily these days without a prescription. If you never check your blood pressure at home, it can be really difficult to know if any of the lifestyle changes you're trying are actually working, or which ones are, which ones aren't. So it's really important to keep monitoring. Regular visits with your doctor are also important to controlling your blood pressure, especially if you've been diagnosed with hypertension. If it's well controlled, your blood pressure is well controlled, then check with your doctor about how often you actually need to check it. If you're under good blood pressure management, good control, there's no need to be checking at multiple times a day. Of course, that's a lot of added stress for you. So maybe your doctor would suggest checking it daily or less often even. And then number 10, our final point is to get support. Supportive family and friends can help improve your health, whether it's blood pressure or anything health related. They may encourage you to take care of yourself. They can drive you to your doctor's appointments, or even start an exercise program with you to keep your blood pressure low. I know that there are a couple of people in the health aware realm that I've seen lately that have a friend that they're starting diet plans with or workout plans with, which is great support. If you find that you need support beyond your family and friends, maybe consider joining a support group. I'm sure that there are many online options these days. Support groups can put you in touch with people that give you an emotional boost, a morale boost, and that can offer practical tips to cope with your condition. They understand what you're going through. So we've run through all 10 of our tips. Oh, Molly had a question. When is the best time of day to take your blood pressure? I know after a shower or after eating is not great as it makes it go up. I mean, yes, so blood pressure does change from moment to moment throughout the day, depending on the situation or different activities that you're doing. I would say if you're taking a blood pressure medication, you would probably want to check it before your medication, and again after, but certainly before you take your medication would be great, just to kind of see where your actual natural baseline is. If you don't have high blood pressure, oh boy, when would I recommend taking it? I would say if you're going to be taking it consistently, to take it at the same sort of time every day, regardless of when it is. Usually a lot of people will take it first thing in the morning, kind of. And so that's probably what I would recommend, is maybe like a before breakfast sort of thing. And I didn't even talk about this, I guess, is how to properly take your blood pressure. Of course, when you're at home, people will typically have the automated blood pressure cuff, whether it's arm or wrist. It's not usually the kind that we do in the office with the stethoscope and the blood pressure cuff. Usually it's your own automated machine. And those can be a little bit inaccurate sometimes. But best practice for your body is to be seated for 5 to 10 minutes, 5 minutes at least, at rest, just resting, not engaged in any strenuous activities, and not in a state of stress, I guess I would say. 5 minutes sitting, relaxing, reading a book or something. Not talking when you are getting your blood pressure taken. So no talking, seated for a few minutes, and also make sure that your legs are not crossed. You're not sitting with your knees crossed. Feet flat on the floor is the ideal posture for getting your blood pressure taken. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions from anybody out there? I'm happy to answer anything more if you have any questions. I'm so glad that we had some people watching live this morning. Hopefully those that watch it later on are gonna get some good information out of it as well. Hello to you watching later on. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for joining. I will see you again next week for another of our nutrition education classes. It's Carb Smart. It is our Carb Smart class, and I believe we will be talking about the very basics of carbohydrates, kind of as an intro, beginning of the year, getting into it just at the basics. Tomorrow, oh, hi Annette, thanks for joining. And hi Molly, I said hi to you already though. Tomorrow, I'm teaching, again, our usual strength training class here at 9 a.m., but we also have added a stretching class. I'll be teaching that at 10 a.m., so you can hang around on the computer with me for those few minutes in between strength and stretching. I'm very excited. It'll be a nice, relaxing time. I am not a yoga instructor. It will not be yoga. It will be stretching. We have Heidi to teach our yoga, so it is a true, just pure stretching class, very relaxed, very calm. So I hope to see you all there. Yay, Annette will be there with me tomorrow. All right, until then, everyone, happy Wednesday. I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.